What's your opinion and what do you think the Fed's actually going to do?
네, 안녕하세요. 백구입니다. 오늘에서 내일 넘어가는 새벽 3월 23일 새벽 3시 연준의 금리 결정을 앞두고 있습니다. 금일 영상은 미국 경제학자이자 RBC 캐피털 마켓의 상부 인사인 톰 퍼슬리님의 3월 FOMC 회의에 대한 예측을 설명하는 영상을 함께 보려고 합니다. 해당 내용은 미국 CNBC 텔레비전 채널의 영상입니다. 네, 함께 보실게요.
What's your opinion and what do you think the Fed's actually going to do?
Yeah, so good morning. Good to see you. Look, I've been doing this for a long time, and I don't really recall a time, at least any time recently, where there's been such a dispersion of views, particularly, a day before the FOMC meeting. So our view is that the Fed will raise rates tomorrow, 25 basis points. I mean, it's going to be a close one. And what I would say is, this is this classic idiom, right, of what the Fed will do versus what they should do. I think the Fed will raise rates 25 basis points tomorrow. I do not believe that they should raise rates 25 basis points tomorrow. But again, our view has that's been our view. I mean, right. I think the Fed was fighting yesterday's war on inflation. So we never really believed in the idea of having to get this aggressive, particularly toward the end of this hiking cycle. But it's pretty clear now, with the market priced, as you said, about 75% chance of the Fed going tomorrow, that the Fed is going to deliver. I think if they don't deliver, particularly on the back of market pricing in virtually a 25 basis point hike for tomorrow, I think it would just lend itself to confusion, worry. What do they know that we don't? So I think at this point, it looks like they're going to go.
On the first two, I think we have plenty of it already. There's lots of confusion and worry already.
Yeah.
So just to be clear, we're going to show the graphic one more time. You're actually agreeing with J.P. Morgan, Citi, Morgan Stanley, Bank of America that there will be a 25 basis point hike tomorrow.
Well, either that or they agree with me.
There you go. You know what? There you go. Depends which way you look at it.
Yeah.
I want to bounce one other thing from your colleagues at J.P. Morgan. They're suggesting the Fed's already on a path to no return from a note. Quote, here's what they're saying. The Fed is facing a difficult task on Wednesday, but it is likely already past the point of no return. A soft landing now looks unlikely with the airplane in a tailspin, in parentheses, lack of market confidence, and engines about to turn off, in parentheses, bank lending. So a lot there, a lot of metaphor there, a lot of metaphor, but I think you get the point. I think the audience gets the point as well. What's your take on that?
Yeah, look, I think that one of the things that we find really compelling about what's happening now is if you look at lending standards were rising. They were already on the rise. In fact, if you look at sort of like a four-quarter delta, right, a four-quarter change, it was like one of the biggest changes, four-quarter changes that we've seen since the GFC. Now, in fairness, it was coming from a much lower level. But again, the direction of travel I thought was really compelling. That was before the bank sort of crisis really came into play. So what do you think is going to happen to lending standards going forward? I mean, it's just going to get even more tight. Yes. That's been a really prime source of momentum from a consumption perspective. So we think by the second half of the year, the consumer is going to look in pretty rough shape, which is sort of, again, I don't know if it's an irony or not, but if you look at where we are right now from a consumption perspective, Q1 growth is going to actually look pretty good. Actually, it might even be pretty strong. But I think that's going to turn pretty abruptly on the back of a lot of this.
All right, so the Fed says it's going to be data dependent. So a lot of people, including you, believe we're going to see that 25 basis point hike tomorrow. Yep. But there's going to be a lot of ears on that commentary, as there always is, about what they're going to do going forward. What are you expecting going forward, and how heavily will this banking crisis weigh on the decision going forward? I
think this is such an important question. And I think, look, they have to, clearly they're going to acknowledge what's happening, right? I mean, I don't know how you can't. But I think the Fed wants maximum flexibility. I mean, at least if I was there, I would want to try to build a case for maximum flexibility. In other words, hey, look, if things really deteriorate from here, then clearly the hiking cycle's over. But if we get out of this, and it's sort of we're looking okay, and inflation is remaining elevated, then we wanted the ability to continue to sort of hike. I mean, I think they should be aiming for maximum flexibility, which is
over clarity. I mean, wouldn't the markets appreciate some clarity?
I think it's but again, to our original discussion point, where's the clarity? I mean, you have half the community, half the forecasting community saying they're going to go tomorrow, and half saying they're not. So I think we're just in one of those sort of fuzzy places, which is why I think maximum flexibility is exactly what the Fed should be aiming for.
Do you think the market would respond well to them saying that's it?
I think that the market might worry about that. If that is it, then why is that it? Is it because all of a sudden, hey, things really are deteriorating much more than we even think? That's why I think look, I think if we're being honest, I think that the Fed has had a hard time with narratives, particularly over the last year or so. I think it's going to be a really tricky one for the Fed to pull off tomorrow.
네, 이렇게 영상을 보시다시피 내일 새벽에 금리 인상에 대한 대중들의 의견이 정말 분분한 시점이지만 타운퍼슬리님의 입장에서는 좀 깔끔하게 25bp 인상에 대한 견해를 좀 명확하게 밝힌 입장이긴 합니다. 네, 다음 비트코인 차트로 넘어와서 이 차트를 보시면 아시겠지만 이 29K부터 30K 라인, 이 라인은 보시면 과거에 몇 번 지지와 저항 역할을 했던 구간이기 때문에 좀 의미 있는 구간입니다. 어제 제가 업로드 해드렸던 20대 엉망전자 트레이더인 칼 루나필드 영상을 보셨다시피 이 30K에는 좀 거대한 저항이 존재를 하기 때문에 이 구간까지 올라갔을 때는 한 번쯤 가격이 조정을 받을 가능성을 크게 보고 있다라고 합니다. 지금의 거시경제적인 관점과 차트적인 관점을 콜라보해서 시장을 바라볼 때 지금 비트코인 시장에 대한 해석은 저로서는 이 29K, 30K 라인은 바로 한 번에 뚫어버린 상승을 바라보기보다는 지금 이 구간은 한 번쯤 조심해야 되는 구간으로 봐야 되지 않을까라고 말씀을 드리고 영상 마치도록 하겠습니다. 오늘 영상은 여기까지 마치고요. 백구였습니다. 감사합니다.